Hey everybody, so before I begin today's video, short little announcement. I'm gonna be gone for about a week. I got a bunch of training coming up, so, yay the Army, right? Can't be helped, it's part of the contract, it's what we do, but, we gotta train to keep ourselves sharp, so just in case we ever need these skills, they're available. But what I wanted to do was, before I leave, I wanted to do a video about all the crazy leftist viewpoints and BS that I have heard over the past couple weeks, and my mind is blown at this point. So I want to start with the easiest and the simplest. So a lot of this is rumor and speculation, but Joe Biden, some people are saying that he might be what are they called? A sunsetter, I believe. And for those of you who don't know, a sunsetter means, for some people who get old, they start developing issues in their brain because some think it's decaying of the brain, other thinks it's because of chemical imbalances. It's really hard to tell. But anyway, a sunsetter is they're fine throughout the day. They're perfectly fine. They seem like a everyday human. They function absolutely perfect. But as soon as the sun starts going down, they start acting all crazy and acting all mental and just absolutely ballistic. So some people have came out and say that they believe Joe Biden is a sunsetter. Now, as I said, this is just rumor. But then now at the presidential debate or was it as one of his campaign rallies? I can't remember which one, but he had a blood vessel pop in his eye and it went red. And then some of the other debates I've seen him in, he's done a lot of rambling, and it kind of makes you wonder. Do these rumors and speculations hold some actual, truth to them? Is Joe Biden just like the figurehead, and they're hoping, now this is also just, a theory that someone said, but they think that they want Joe Biden to get in office because unfortunately he's leading the Democratic polls, but they want to attach a vice president who is very, very PC, very SUW, and PC, whatever you want to call them, very progressive per se. So, the thought behind this theory is, a few months into his presidency, if he wins, Joe Biden say, hey, I got some health issues coming down, I got to step down, but here's my vice president. And, that's a very easy and sure way to get a progressive president in office. Now, I think a lot of you who watch this content, you'll kind of sit back and think, that's not good for the country, and you are correct. But as I said, this one, I chalk it up, this is just rumors and conspiracies that people have been talking about. But honestly, with a lot of the stuff that Joe Biden has been doing lately, I kind of believe it. I kind of believe it. And as I said, that's an easy way to get a progressive president in office, because I think they realize that if they had someone run, like the main president who was just completely progressive, I don't think they win. So, second best thing, right? Now, the next one I want to talk about comes from the Salty Cracker. He did a video on this, and honestly, I believe it. So, California. That's right, California. Some of y'all are probably going, oh God, what now? Because what hasn't California had at this point? You know what I'm saying? But apparently, leprosy has come to California. That thing that was very bad in the medieval ages and a little bit through and such like that. Yeah, leprosy has came to California. Now, I'll link his video in the description. Don't get me wrong, so you can watch it for yourself, but leprosy and a severe case of TB or tuberculosis that can't be cured by normal antibiotics and such. And then they also said the bubonic plague has also entered the streets of California. Now, some of y'all might be asking, well, why is this happening? We haven't had severe cases like this in America since, we eradicated them. And the same thing goes for most of Europe. But the reason it is because of the poor management of our borders. And California is a sanctioned state. So basically all these people have to do, regardless of their health, they just got to make it to California and they're good. They're fine. But a lot of these people are coming from third world or second world nations where they don't really have the medication or the medical research that we have. So they're coming in to California bringing these diseases like leprosy and an untreatable form of TB and bubonic plague. And It's nuts to us. And this has happened before in American history. During this, here's a little history lesson for you. During the Revolutionary War, a lot of the American colonists, did get smallpox. Because they were away from Europe and smallpox was rapid in Europe. But believe it or not, a lot of the American colonists, they didn't have smallpox. But what happened is some of the prisoners that the British were taking, they would throw them just leave them on the bottom of the ship decks. And one of them got out, but unfortunately, he caught smallpox while he was, on the actual ship. So when he came to one of George Washington camps, where a lot of his men and soldiers never had smallpox before, it ran like wildfire throughout the Continental Army. And George Washington had when he was younger, so his body developed an immunity to it. But the thing is, a lot of his troops who've never had it, it was spreading like wildfire through them. It was just bam, 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 because they were living and most of them were born and grew up in an area where smallpox was uncommon. And y'all might be asking, well, why are you talking about something that happened nearly 200, 300 years ago? Well, it's because the same thing has happened now. Because we've grown up in a society in America where a lot of these diseases that are pretty much eradicated in our nation, a lot of people don't develop immunities to them because they've been eradicated. Our bodies just haven't been immune to them. Well, you start bringing in people from other countries that this stuff is still like everyday common life, and you bring them into an area of people who's never been vaccinated or never really had the disease, it's going to spread like wildfire to a lot of these people because that's just human biology for you. But George Washington fought the disease because what he did was he cut soldiers' arms open. Then he would take pus from the smallpox, which the pus had dead viruses, and he would spread them on the wound and let the disease spread in. Now the soldiers still got sick, but it was basically a very primitive style of a vaccinating shot. You know what I mean? But the thing is, the same stuff is now happening now, just in California, because as I said, you have all these people who's had these diseases, and then you're putting them in a society where a lot of these diseases are very uncommon now. And, that's not to also talk about the shit that's going on and all the heroin needles that are being on the street. I mean, I just don't see why California continues to vote left. All right? I mean, that place is like burning in more ways than one, and yet these people are still voting for Democrats. Now, in the 2018 elections and the 2016 election, as many of y'all know, there was Republicans who won some of the seats, but they held up for recounts and kept discovering more and more valid boxes, and all of a sudden, all those Republicans were overturned. It's a conspiracy theory, I will chalk that up, but at the same time, it's also very confusing and very interesting that where were these, where were they earlier? They just all of a sudden came up and it was like, oh, look, no, Republicans didn't win, it was the Democrats. It makes you think like, very interesting where these votes came from, right? And it's strange. That's why I'm kind of worried about what will happen next year with the presidential election, because if they're doing this shit, last year in 2016, how far are they going to go in 2020 just to gain their power back? Makes you think. Now, the last crazy bit I heard, which some of y'all probably heard of this about now, but new climate change has, oh my god, I don't even know. I just don't even know. So not only is doing the new Green Deal, the Climate Paris Accord Agreement, or that one, and cutting carbon emissions and shutting down coal factories, that's not enough. No. Now they're going after the population. Now they're even suggesting cannibalism. Makes you think. It makes you think how far these people are willing to go to push their agenda. Now, Computing Forever did the video on this, but other channels have. But cannibalism. So let's start from the beginning of this one, all right? This is nuts. Absolutely nuts. All right, so Bernie Sanders, as some of y'all probably heard by now, he's came out and he has basically said, yes, I believe we need population control. The earth is not designed to hold so many people. And he also thinks that to stop it, we gotta, limit the number of children that people are having, and we gotta give abortion access and all this other stuff to people in third world nations so they will stop having children. And population control at its finest, right? But here's something funny. We give foreign nations so much foreign aid. It's just the problem is these governments aren't putting this money towards development or to their citizenship. They're putting it in their pockets, and they're doing it just in their military and their security forces. Listen, it just happens. And I'm sitting here thinking, why do we keep funding these people if they're not going to help their nation? They're just making themselves wealthy. We're paying for dictators, basically. Anyway, so the goal now is population control, and we gotta give these third world nations abortion clinics and access to birth control and everything else to help calm the climate. What are you gonna do with Islamic dominant nations? Because they don't believe in birth control or abortions. I mean, the reality is even a Islamic family in a Western nation still has about 5 to 7 kids, because that's just the standard of Islam. So what are we going to do? Are we going to tell Islam that they have to stop producing kids? They can't have many. They got to start cutting it down? Or is it just going to be white people and non-Islamics that have to stop? That one, yeah, I get it. Sounds like a conspiracy theory. I get that. But considering how much the left has been bashing white people for the past couple years, because, we're all white supremacists apparently, I put nothing past them at this point. I highly doubt that they're going to tell Islamists that they need to control their population and their kids. They can't have so much. I'm pretty sure a lot of them would just tell us to go F ourselves. Anyway, so population control now. And then, you had the freaking one professor coming out and talking about cannibalism, because the meme has become real, people. I'm sure some of y'all have seen the meme by now where it was like me trying to explain to people how cannibalism will help solve overpopulation and world hunger. Eating people has always been a bad taboo. And in the article that he was talking about, he says, we have to teach and train ourselves to break down that mental barrier so we can start eating people, right? Right? But what determines who gets eaten? That's the question, So they want us to stop having kids, and then they want us to start eating each other for the sake of the planet and the climate. Yeah, I know there has been cases throughout history where cannibalism was kind of necessary. Like, I forget the name of the plane, but there was that plane crash that clashed in a snowy area up in the mountains, and rescue couldn't get to them in time, so they actually ate some of the dead passengers to survive. Stuff like that I understand, but, I'm pretty sure a lot of those people kind of carried that scar with them mentally for the rest of their lives. And I know there's been tons of tribes that have practiced cannibalism, like even the Aztecs, they had forms of it, such like that. But, we as a society has kind of evolved past such things and eating our fellow man. And now we have climate change activists saying that, hey, we should consider eating people so we can save the planet, as well as bugs. We need to start eating bugs, too, because cows still produce too much methane. Computing Forever said one thing in his video, and he is absolutely correct. The elitists will continue to chow down on their burgers, their steaks, and their chicken nuggets, and their fries. They will continue to have the luxuries that we accept and have in American modern society. While there will be the working class, or as he's also called it, the slave class, who will be forced to eat each other and eat bugs. I want you all to think about this, and this is stuff that the global left is supporting. So is this going to be like a bad sci-fi movie? Like, every household is only allowed to have one kid, and as soon as the parents or the grandparents reach a certain age, they are put down and then chopped up to serve food to the commoners. I mean, this sounds really sci-fi-ish and really bad, but honestly, I know it sounds conspiracy-ish, but if the left gets their way, I can see them doing something like this. Because it's hysteria. It's just crazy, right? And this is coming from people... Andrew Wilkow said something on the radio. He said that the left is fighting for a purpose. You know, they gotta find that heroic cause to fight for. And they've taken up the heroic, noble cause to fight for the world. To stop climate change. To stop the earth from burning up because we're all gonna die. And a lot of these Democrats have came out and said that climate change is like World War II. You know, but last time I checked in World War II, cities aren't being destroyed. People aren't dying by the thousands in war, and there's no nuclear bombs being tested. What can you do? This is absolute insanity. And as I said, it would be like a bad sci-fi movie where maybe when you stop working or you can't work anymore, you get put down. Well, that's a good motivator to keep people working the rest of their lives, right? To continue them slave wages. You gotta let them know, hey, the moment you stop working, we're gonna kill you and eat you. Yeah.
You also gotta look at the actual physical aspect of eating someone, what it does to the brain.
Don't you get the shakes or it damages your brain?
Yeah. It basically would give you the human version of mad cow disease. It will make you go insane.
I don't know if y'all heard that, but my girlfriend downstairs, she said that cannibalism, it affects the human. It gives you basically the human version of mad cow disease, and it gives you the shakes really bad. But don't worry, I'm sure these people will find some kind of stimulant or drug that they'll inject us with to lessen the effects, because we have to protect the climate. That is all the crazy left-wing news I have heard today, folks. So what do y'all think? Is Joe Biden, is he going to get the presidency, or is he just like the scapegoat to get a more progressive president in office? Are we going to have to start eating bugs and go into cannibalism, all for the sake of saving the planet? And how do you think, or how do you feel about a lot of these diseases we have eradicated coming back to the United States?
I think they're God's punishment.
Well, they could be God's punishment, but the only question is what's he punishing us for?
Sinful ways, turning our back on him.
Well, sinful ways and turn our back on God. Some people will agree, some people won't. Except for me, I'm safe. Any soldier that joins the army, they literally inject you with every single disease known to man. So I'll be fine, but it's everyone else I'm worried about. Anyway, folks, sorry about the chopping of the video. Just trying to get stuff done. Like I said, this is the last video I'm going to make for about a week. I'll probably shoot some if I have an opportunity, but they won't be uploaded until next week. Guys, that said, what do y'all feel? Do y'all think this is just weird hysteria going on, or do you actually feel like this is legit concerns? I'm not too sure about the cannibalism thing, but the eating bugs is probably going to be an actual thing. And the diseases coming back to American soil, that's actually a concern. But, we got to open them borders. Because it's not just people we'll be letting in. It'll be letting in diseases, crime, and God only knows what else that will follow. Trump 2020, folks.